Hello, everyone, and welcome to Scream Scene, the horror movie podcast where we watch every horror movie ever made in chronological order, and then we rank them from best to worst. My name's Ben.
And I'm Sarah.
Thank you for listening to us today. How are you doing today, Sarah?
I am doing all right. The weather has certainly shifted. It is very much autumn, and the trees are going gold and reds and coppers. It's just a wonderful time of year. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm very busy between work and creative projects and it being October. I just feel very busy, so I'm a little tired. I'm trying to take care of myself, trying to fight back burnout. But I'm happy to be here, happy to be doing the show, as always.
You know the secret to burnout?
Rest?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So not fight back burnout.
But what if I'm fighting by resting?
As long as it's, rest and not no, I'll power through. Yep, I see that face. Wag my finger. What are we watching today, Ben?
Today, Sarah, we are watching STRAGE DEI VAMPIRI from 1962. That translates to The Slaughter of Vampires. Slaughter of the Vampires.
Okay, so I better be seeing a literal slaughter.
Well, I feel like the thing that's both slaughter and vampires implies is more than one vampire.
At what point does something become a slaughter?
I feel like you have to be killing multiple people.
Yeah.
At the same time.
And pretty savagely. I feel like slaughter also implies that it's brutal.
Yeah, it sort of implies that the people you're killing didn't have much opportunity to fight back.
Yeah.
Which that's an interesting take on vampire killing. Listen, I have a feeling this movie's not going to live up to that title. This is another one in this sort of trend of low budget Italian vampire movies we've been seeing lately.
The last one being The World of the Vampires?
So World of the Vampires was Mexican.
Oh, my bad.
But we have been seeing a lot of Italian ones as well. Stuff like The Vampire and the Ballerina or Playgirls and the Vampire, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
This was produced by Mercure Films, like Mercury, but missing the Y. And the picture was written and directed by Roberto Mauri. And Mauri was an actor from Sicily with a career in B pictures, stretching back to 1943, who had taken up directing in 1959. This was his third feature film as a director and his fifth screenplay.
Okay, so I feel he knows what he's getting into with horror and B-movie.
Mm-hmm. The movie's hero is played by actor Walter Brandi, who we previously saw as Herman in The Vampire and the Ballerina, or L'amante del vampiro, to give it its Italian title. And we also saw him as Count Gabor in The Playgirls and the Vampire, or La Ultima Preda del Vampiro.
That's one where it's kind of like a Jekyll and Hyde.
That's one
vampire.
where there's two Count Gabors.
Yeah.
Yeah, the vampire and the scientist.
Yeah.
Yeah. The vampire this time around, however, is played by German actor Dieter Epler. Epler sort of just happened to be in Italy at the time because he had been...
there on the street.
Basically. He had been cast in a Dino De Laurentiis film that was never made because the funds never materialized.
But they had enough money to bring him in from Germany, presumably?
It was you've been cast, fly in from Germany, get a hotel, come down to set, do everything. You'll get paid, when you get paid, right? You know what I mean? There was no advance.
Wow. So all on your own dime?
Yeah. But the idea being that, you'll get paid enough to cancel that out, right?
Fuck.
And then the movie didn't happen.
Oof.
So he was kind of stuck in Italy. He took the job for this movie as the vampire because of that. And the film was shot at the Castle d'Aquino, which is the place where Thomas Aquinas was held prisoner by his family to prevent him from joining the Dominican Order of Monks. Because that's Italy. That's Europe. You just turn around and stumble into history wherever you go.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We read Thomas Aquinas in college.
We did.
Yeah.
Yes. He's a major Christian thinker.
Yeah. There weren't many of those back then.
Epler would later say that this production was so low budget that the actors were never paid.
Jeez Louise.
So they had enough money this time to actually make the movie.
Did the movie make money?
So Slaughter of the Vampires was released in Italy on February 6th, 1962, where it made just under $60,000 at the box office.
In Italian dollars?
No, that's in US dollars.
Okay. So 60,000.
Just under 60,000, like 58,000 and some change.
Oof.
Yeah.
We've seen movies that just cost that amount.
It was dubbed and released in the United States in 1969.
Nice.
Under the title Curse of the Blood Ghouls.
I guess that's another way of thinking about vampires.
Yeah. At which point critics called it, quote, remarkably unchilling and, quote, so incredibly banal it almost entertains.
Oh, no.
The dubbing has been singled out by multiple reviews for particular criticism as being some of the most like ridiculous dubbing they'd ever seen in a movie.
So we're not watching that,
No,
right?
we're going to be watching it in Italian.
Yeah, great.
It was released on DVD by Image Entertainment in 2005. Yep.
Go on.
Yep. Nope. That's it.
That's all you have?
Yep.
Damn. So, I mean, I think it's kind of interesting. They've cast a German as a vampire. Like, I think that's good, like, resourcing. Okay, well, we will see this movie. How are we watching this?
You know, by any means necessary.
Yeah, the magic of Scream Scene.
Right.
Well, folks, we'll let you know if it's worth
Tracking down the DVD.
Tracking down and casting some of your own Scream Scene magic. We are going to go watch La Strage dei Vampiri from 1962, directed by Roberto Mauri.
See you on the other side, everybody.
Welcome back to Scream Scene. We just finished watching La Strage dei Vampiri, aka The Slaughter of the Vampires, directed by Roberto Mauri from 1962. Ben, first thoughts of this Italian B movie?
You know, it's got its pros and cons.
I found this surprisingly good.
Okay.
Let me rephrase based off of your facial expression there. I was expecting it to be bad, and it's neutral.
Yeah, I don't think it's out and out bad. I do think it never quite lives up to the prologue. And I also think that overall, it's very uninspired.
Like, sure, when you say prologue, you mean...
Like, before the credits.
Yeah. Okay. I guess to talk more about this prologue, I need to give the synopsis. So when the film opens, we see this vampire and his bride running from this angry mob. They're hiding, and we get a little bit more backstory from the mob being like, I can't believe he killed my sister. He's going to pay for that kind of thing. The bride is like, we got to get away. So they start running, and the bride trips and falls and gets like slaughtered. And he gets away. So I think that's the prologue that you're talking about.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Which is also like the closest that the title comes to being descriptive of the movie. Like they've got all these villagers like stabbing this female vampire with pitchforks as she's like screaming horrifically, and then the title comes up like Slaughter of the Vampires.
Yeah. I have more to say about that. So he gets into his getaway carriage with his coffin and makes his way back to his castle, only to discover that a newlywed couple has moved in. Don't you hate it when that happens? So the couple that has moved in is the Marquis Wolfgang and his wife Louise. We're set in like Austria?
Yeah, I think it's Austria. In like the 19th century somewhere.
Yeah, in 18...
Yeah.
So Louise begins to hear the vampire's voice as they're in the castle. They are having a ball to kind of like celebrate, hey, we've cleaned up the place. Come, like a housewarming party. And she's like, you know, feeling not quite herself, a little like a space case, feeling a little dizzy here and there. And then we see that someone who arrives to the ball is the vampire. Now Wolfgang is like, who's this guy? I don't remember inviting him. But everyone keeps saying like, oh, he must be a friend of so-and-so. The vampire and Louise end up dancing. She gets a little bit more dizzy, so she's like, I need to rest. The vampire hightails it out of there once Wolfgang approaches. So once Louise is kind of put to bed, the vampire comes back and bites her. It's going to be hard to give the synopsis because the vampire is never named.
Yeah.
It gives the impression that some time goes on and Louise's health continues to decline. The local doctor isn't quite sure what to make of it beyond potentially anemia. We know that it's because she keeps being fed on by a vampire. And the local doctor suggests that Wolfgang reach out to his friend, Dr. Nietzsche.
In Vienna.
Because Louise is not doing well. Wolfgang travels to go get Dr. Nietzsche, but unfortunately, Louise dies as they arrive back home. The doctor is very upfront that pretty sure that this is a case of a vampire and the way that they spread the contagion, which is like wild that he's so upfront about it. But we've all seen Dracula.
Yeah.
So
that's the thing is that like Louise is just Mina and Lucy kind of distilled into one character. All of like the male leads are distilled into Wolfgang. Dr. Nietzsche is Van Helsing, and our unnamed vampire is Dracula. Like it's, if you've seen any Draculas, you'll know the bare bones like beats of this story.
Yeah. As they arrive in to the castle and they go to see Louise's dead body, her body's gone from the bed. As they're searching for her, Wolfgang finds her in the garden and he gets bitten. He ends up getting a blood transfusion, so it's clear that, okay, a bite is not an immediate transformation, just to kind of sort out what this movie's vampire lore is. Dr. Nietzsche explains that, you know, the vampire, the way to fight them off is with fire or the cross. And there is a case a little bit later where we see daylight used as well. So pretty standard vampire lore going on.
Stake through the heart does the trick, etc.
Exactly. Now that Louise is a vampire, she begins to go after Wolfgang. Ultimately, Dr. Nietzsche follows Louise through the catacombs underneath the castle and ends up staking her. Meanwhile, we see that the vampire has also been hooking up with the maid, Corinne. So she's under his spell. And while Dr. Nietzsche is distracted dealing with Louise, Corinne attacks Wolfgang, seemingly to turn him eventually. Corinne is later dispatched by Dr. Nietzsche with the use of the daylight and with the cross. So some other characters here that I haven't really mentioned is there's like the gardener, his wife, and they have a little girl named like Razzie or something like that.
I think it's pronounced Razzi.
Razzie. After Wolfgang has been attacked by Curran, Dr. Nietzsche's like, it's not looking good for old Wolfgang here. Night falls, and Ratzi is playing the piano, and that rouses Wolfgang. So we think that maybe he might be turned, and Ratzi's in trouble. He takes her for a walk into the garden, the attacking garden, basically, where all of the attacks seem to happen. And suddenly the vampire is like popping about. The way he stalks is kind of like poking out of bushes and popping back in.
Yeah.
It's very fun. I really enjoy it. I don't think it's supposed to be funny, but I do enjoy it a lot.
It has a very like Hanna-Barbera energy to it.
Very much so. So Wolfgang and Ratzi end up running and trying to find a place to hide. They've been being followed by Dr. Nietzsche and the gardener. So they're trying to follow and get into where they've hidden themselves, while the vampire has like found a way in through the rooftop to try to get to Ratzi. His interest is the little girl. He and Wolfgang fight, and Wolfgang ultimately ends up killing the vampire by stabbing him with the prongs from some iron gates. After the vampire dies, he does like the fade away into skull and bones. Dr. Nietzsche and the gardener finally get in, and they are about to kill Wolfgang, thinking he's a vampire, but Ratzi's like, no, he saved me from the vampire. So cool, all is fine. Wolfgang is recovering thanks to the blood transfusions, and that's basically the end. The movie goes on for a little bit more to be like, here's us wrapping up like what life is like in the castle now. Bye, Dr. Nietzsche. Thanks. Come again. Like a little bit too long, but that's basically the plot end. So what do you want to say about the prologue, since that's what kind of sparked off the synopsis?
Sure. So the thing is that like we open with this movie in a point in the plot that's usually the end of one of these movies with like the angry mob after the vampire. And the interesting thing about that section is that we're following the vampire's POV.
Yeah, I really liked it.
They're like hiding in the bushes as like the mob runs by and they're afraid. And it's like, we got to get out of here. And we see the lead vampire leave the woman behind. And then like the scene where the villagers are like stabbing her with pitchforks and she's like screaming is shot in such a way that like the whole sequence encourages us to be sympathetic with the vampires. It's got a real like, you know, we're the real monsters kind of like feel to it. And then like the title comes up and it's like Slaughter of the Vampires. And it's like, oh, are we going to get like vampires as like a like allegory for like an oppressed minority or something here? Like, are we going to get something interesting? And the answer is no. No, we are not going to get something interesting. We are just going to get like budget Dracula, and with like a few like minor, you know, differences.
Yes.
So that's what I mean when I say that the movie never lives up to that, because that prologue makes you think, oh, this movie's going to do something different and interesting. And ultimately it doesn't.
Very fair and very true and accurate. I would say that the other thing that's a little bit different with how this movie's handling the Dracula story is Wolfgang being kind of our damsel in distress a little bit, with him being like targeted by two vampires and him being weak. Like if Dr. Nietzsche wasn't here, like this entire castle would be overrun 100%.
To be fair, I think some of this is the result of, when I say it's budget Dracula, what I mean is that like it's Dracula with like the bare minimum of characters that you could get away with. Like Harker and all of Lucy's suitors are Wolfgang. Louise is both Mina and Lucy in that like she's dead and turned into a vampire halfway through the movie, right? So like Wolfgang is the damsel, yes, but like so is Harker for stretches of the Dracula story. But this is like a version of the Dracula story where we don't have the opening in Transylvania, right? We just start with when Dracula arrives into London, essentially. Then from there, it's very much like the Bela Lugosi Universal Dracula in the sense that like we're at like one location for the rest of the story, right? We don't follow the vampire back or anything. There are things I like about this movie, but I think my biggest con is that like the writing is very basic.
Yeah.
There's very little by the way of new ideas. There are long stretches of just like paint by numbers storytelling. Like Dr. Nietzsche is just Van Helsing.
I want to know why they chose the name.
Yeah, why is he Nietzsche? That's so fucking weird.
It's weird.
I mean, I like on the one hand, I understand that like if you are European, like Italian, and you're setting the movie in Austria, like I understand that Nietzsche is just a German name. Like it's just a surname.
But
right?
like any other name. Like, why would you choose a famous name?
Yeah. But like theoretically, like Nietzsche had the name because it was a name to begin with, right? So like I on a certain hand, I get it, but like it is very distracting. But yeah, like it's very paint by numbers. And even when there are differences like Karine, right? The maid who gets taken over, or the gardener and his little girl, like it's not so different that you can't predict kind of everything that happens in the story.
Yeah.
I think the biggest twist is there is definitely a stretch where you are pretty sure Wolfgang's been turned and he's taking the little girl out to eat her. And then it turns out that was just like a feint to draw out the vampire, right? That's like the closest thing.
He wasn't purposely trying to draw out the vampire. Like it was designed so we thought the little girl was in trouble.
That's what I mean, though, is like you think...
Oh, I wanted to make sure that it was clear that it wasn't that Wolfgang was trying to draw out the vampire.
Yeah, but like, you know, you think that Wolfgang's turned, right? And then that turns out not to be the case. But like a lot of the rest of this is very paint by numbers. It's very, you know exactly what's going to happen. The characters are nothing.
Yeah.
Like they're Louise is as a character is a boob delivery system.
The phrase, you know, the meme phrase of she breasted boobily?
Okay, yes, exactly. I need to explain this to anyone on the podcast who doesn't know what this is.
Yeah, so to explain it, it comes from like a Tumblr post, but it's making fun of the way that women tend to be written by a very male gazy author. So I believe the phrase is like, the full quote is like, she got up and breasted boobily to the stairs and titted downwards.
Yes.
Like a very like, boobs are the focus with whatever she happens to be doing.
Yes.
And that just seems to be the way that, I don't mean that like the camera is constantly focused on Louise's breasts. They just happen to be there and are very prominent. And there is a moment when she's running down some stairs that it's very, oh, those boobs are boobling.
Yeah, she breasts boobily down the stairs in a particular shot, like exactly. And what it really is like they've got this very attractive, like a lot of these Italian movies, very attractive woman playing Louise, who is young and has like nice boobs, and also spends the whole movie dressed in like nightgowns that are extremely deep cut necklines, right? So like all of the framings, it's male gaze. Like if you wanted to explain male gaze to someone, it's like every shot of this woman is designed so that like we notice her breasts.
Yes.
So she's like nothing as a character. Wolfgang is nothing.
Yes, there's nothing to their character development, but I do like how Louise is a predator in this movie. I do like, you know, it's very surface level, but like, I do like the way that she like speaks to the vampire and like, I don't know.
It's just that like everyone here is a very basic archetype as required by the plot.
Yeah.
Like,
I just want to push back against saying that they're nothing.
Well, you know, the vampire is such a stereotypical vampire that he doesn't have a name. Like Wolfgang, like it's like what's Wolfgang's personality? He likes to read. There's just like nothing. Nietzsche's just Van Helsing. Like there's nothing to these characters.
Mm-hmm. I think the fact that it's shot on location significantly helps.
Yes.
The overall like mood and storytelling, because as you said, like the script is very, very basic, but like the fact that everything is shot on this beautiful castle, they really use it to its full potential. I think that really helps the movie.
Yeah, that's like a massive pro, right? It brings the production value way, way up. It gives them these beautiful scenery to shoot through. Like, absolutely, I agree. I think the cinematography is great. There's a lot of like deep shadow and lots of like camera movement.
And I think that there were some like neat editing choices with the way that they cut things together.
Yeah, absolutely. And as much as we make fun for how much of a like sexy lamp Louise is at times, like the actresses throughout the movie are very sexy. And if it's eye candy you want, like you're in for a good time. So like those are definitely the pros, I think, is, to wrap all of those compliments up in one word, it would be like the visuals, I guess.
I would say that, like, yes, this is a B movie, but it's not necessarily dull in the way that some of these other B movies we've been seeing are like so dull you want to just like claw your eyes out, like this, it kept me interested. It was like, oh neat, like what are you doing here? I guess because of that visual interest. Like,
yes, it
really likes to there we're shooting at night, and it really likes to use some really interesting shadow throughout the whole thing. There are moments where you just have to laugh because some people's perception checks are failures. The vampire's coffin is behind some wine barrels.
Yes.
Just look to the left and you'll see it.
Yeah.
But like, it's also like the guy making it set out to make a B movie. Like, he's familiar with B movies. He made a B movie. Congratulations. You successfully made a B movie.
Yes.
It might not have been successful.
I think you're totally right in the sense that I think the visuals are really what keeps you interested. I certainly was like, okay, come on, get on with it during some parts of the movie.
It is a little long.
Yeah. I think they're trying to go for atmosphere, but there are definitely sections of this movie where it's like, okay, we get it. They're in a carriage. Like,
and they're running.
Yeah. And, just the parts of the story that are just like going through the motions of Dracula was like, okay. But you are right that the good visuals put it a step above a lot of the other movies in this category. I would say the closest this movie gets to being like daring or boundary pushing in any way after that prologue is this is a movie that really plays up the sexuality of the vampire story. This is a weirdly like bloodless movie. When people get staked, there's no blood. When people get bitten, there's no blood.
Well, there's like a couple of paint marks.
Yeah, but then like the instant the bite is not happening, there is no wound, there is no blood. Like people are reaching to their neck like, ow, but like there's no like,
ow, you bit me.
But like,
Mom.
People's necks are completely unwounded. Like there's nowhere near the level of blood you would expect for any of the stuff that's happening in this movie. But the sexuality is very forward. Like whenever the vampires are feeding on someone, their victim is like writhing orgasmically, which does make Wolfgang taking the little girl out and you think he's going to prey on her have like a bit of a taboo read to it because everything else has been portrayed so sexually. But like that's fairly minor. I do think the general bloodlessness of the movie was something that ended up like kind of bothering me because it just got very ridiculous at a certain point.
It's also called the slaughter of the vampires. And so I want to pull up the dictionary definition of slaughter. Is to kill in a very bloody or violent manner or to kill in large numbers. And in terms of like the definition use of this word, we do get quite a few vampires killed.
Yes.
But it's not in a very bloody or violent manner.
And they aren't all killed like together.
Yeah,
right?
So
it's
it also
spread
feels a little like the implied to kill in large numbers part of this definition is at the same time.
Yeah, I think the title is misleading. It makes sense when it comes up as that first vampire is getting like brutally murdered.
Yeah, I think that counts as a slaughter, but like that's within the first couple of minutes.
Yeah, the rest of this movie, no way. So, yeah, my pros on this movie are the visuals. My cons are the writing. So I'm I'm neutral on this movie. If it was shorter, I think I would be almost more positive. If like they had like cut some things closer. On a note that is unrelated to the movie's quality.
Oh, okay.
So because I had read so much stuff about how bad the English dub was, I like went out of my way to try and find the Italian audio. This was surprisingly difficult. Like everywhere had the English audio, very good quality visual copies of the movie, but with the English dub. So I finally found the Italian audio. And I had to do some digging to find it. And I don't know what happened here because it's not like we had like a DVD with commentary and a booklet like explaining different things. It was just like we watched it using the internet, right? So whatever version we were watching, the Italian audio would like cut out and be replaced with the English dub audio at certain points, sometimes like mid-sentence. Like characters would be like, "Buongiorno, my name is Sam. Would you like to come with me? Prego." Like it was very weird.
Yeah, it gave the feeling that I think would be like when the universal translator is getting configured on Star Trek or something.
Yeah, it's like locking in on the language. The only explanation that I could think of as to why this would be the case is like maybe the Italian soundtrack for the movie is so damaged that there are like holes in it where there's no audio, and whoever did this version just decided to fill in those holes with the English dub or something. But it was really weird and inconsistent. So like I went for the Italian because I wanted the like more authentic audio, but even the Italian audio is very weird. And of course, with anyone who's a fan of Italian movies of this era, it is also worth saying that choosing the English dub, if it's well done, isn't necessarily the wrong choice anyways, because Italian movies were shot with no sound, with international actors. Like the vampire in this movie was German. He was not speaking Italian on set. He would have just been speaking his lines in German. Everybody's just speaking their own language, and then it's dubbed afterwards. So everyone in an Italian movie from this era is dubbed anyway, whether they're dubbed by themselves or someone else, right? And so there are times where the Italian actors are speaking Italian and the dub doesn't look like it's matching their mouth very well. Like this just happens. So like the Sergio Leone movies with Clint Eastwood, for instance, like all the lead actors in those are usually American actors. So like watch those in English. It's fine. Right. So I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with watching the English dub with this one, but the Italian soundtrack was definitely an interesting experience because of this weird quirk.
Yeah, it was fun. Shall we move on to ranking?
Yeah. So I kind of like picked out a spot for this, and then I ended up creating a bit of a range to give us some leeway. I have a suspicion that I'm looking lower on the list than you.
Interesting. I have a pretty narrow range. I started with where's the middle of the list. Actually, before I go in, I just want to give some waypoints here.
Okay.
The two previous Italian horror movies that we've kind of mentioned, like in the context setting, the Ultima Preda del Vampiro, so that's Playgirls and the Vampire. We covered that in episode 310. That's from 1960. It is ranked at number 260. Mm-hmm. And then L'Amante del Vampiro, that's The Vampire and the Ballerina. Covered that in episode 294, and it's ranked at number 74.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Huh. That's crazy. I In my memory, those movies are like very similar. So it's wild that we've got them like 200 spots away from each other on the list. Jesus. Okay.
I mean, like, to be fair, I was also like, that's high. And then
Yeah.
I looked up, I was like, what was this movie even about? And then seeing like some screenshots from it, I was like, oh yeah, I remember why this ranked high. Yeah. Okay. This isn't a case of like, we were out of our minds or anything like that. But it means that that's such a broad range that I don't think that they are useful as waypoints. So that's when I started looking at the middle of the list, because I was fairly like, this was fine.
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
it's a B movie. It was good. So at number 155, which is directly in the middle, is Dr. Renault's Secret from 1942.
Yeah.
Which is like, yeah, I can see that. Above that is Valley of the Zombies, which if you remember, does not have Valley nor zombies.
Correct.
So I feel like, okay, well, this movie, doesn't really have slaughter. So maybe this is feeling a bit better. Looking up at number 148 is The Monster of Piedras Blancas, which is like the lighthouse and monster kind of terrorizes that small little town.
Yeah.
Which I think is probably a little better than this. It's also shot on location, but like they have a monster suit. Like, I don't know. So my range ultimately was like 148 down to 155, probably above Valley of the Zombies. So let's say 154.
So I think my methodology for picking out a range was flawed.
Oh.
So I'm willing to come up from this, but I also thought about L'amante del vampiro and L'ultima preda del vampiro. In my memory, I remembered liking L'ultima preda del vampiro more. So I went hunting for it because I thought, like, okay, this is like in the same category as those movies, but at least Playgirls and the Vampire had like the interesting sort of twist of there being like the two Count Gabors, where like one is the ancient vampire and one is like the modern day scientist who's trying to cure vampirism. But you don't know that until later in the movie. I'm now remembering the like really awful exposition scene where everything gets explained. But like my initial thought was like, well, that's a clever twist on the vampire formula. And there is no clever twist on the vampire formula in this movie. This movie's just like going through the motions. So my initial like gut instinct was that this was worse than that. Right below that at 261 is Bloodlust.
Yes.
Which is teen Most Dangerous Game. And I was like, oh, this is definitely better than that. And then I was like, is it better than Bride of the Gorilla or Black Cat or Song at Midnight or The Golem? I was like, well, maybe it's not better than those movies. Like those are all interesting movies. But is it better than The Neanderthal Man or Plan 9 from Outer Space?
Yes.
And it's like, this is very well shot, right? It has really good visuals. It's not well written. It is very basic. So I was feeling like very conflicted. So I ended up looking up, and I looked up towards The Unknown at 232, which ranks low because like it's
kind of more of like a thriller.
Yeah, it's like a weird,
very early thriller.
It's like a weird drama. It's one of those weird Todd Browning, Lon Chaney movies that are just kind of bizarre.
Yeah, it's from 1927.
Yeah. But like it's also probably the best Todd Browning, Lon Chaney collaboration. And so I was like, I don't know, that's probably a better movie than this. So I ended up with this range of 233 to 261. But I think the methodology was flawed because I totally forgot we put L'amante del vampiro up at like 74 or whatever. Huh. So I feel like the middle of the list is probably like a better place to be looking than like way down here. Even though I didn't super enjoy this movie, but I also didn't hate it.
Yeah.
You know?
That's the other thing, right? You don't hate it.
Yeah. So looking at that midpoint, I'm looking a little lower than your initial spot, that Dr. Renault's Secret. I do hear what you're saying. Slaughter of the Vampires is only a half inaccurate title, whereas Valley of the Zombies is a fully inaccurate title, and thus this should go higher. But looking below Dr. Renault's Secret, we have things like Orlok's Honda, White Zombie, which are like classic movies that like people still love to this day. And so part of me thinks, should this go above Telltale Heart? Wait, no.
You know, that's a good point. Which Telltale Heart is that?
That's the one with the young man and the girl who he falls in love with. And it's kind of like a silent movie, but not. And he thinks about the eye while they're at the park. And it starts in the insane asylum. That one. That Telltale Heart. Okay. Maybe this isn't as good as that. So I'm looking like maybe above Invisible Ghost, below Telltale Heart. But I would, if you sat me down and you said, do you want to watch Slaughter of the Vampires or Dr. Renault's Secret? I would say Slaughter of the Vampires.
Yeah. Because it's like, yes, it's like a Dracula remake, basically. Mm-hmm. But it's like, oh, thank God, not more apes.
Yeah. That's very true.
Dr. Renault's Secret, in terms of like blood, goriness, it has that dog that's like hanged up on a tree. I don't remember any kind of big blood scenes outside of that. Like there's violence. This movie has violence. I think it has a really like Strage. I think it has a really good opening, as we've talked about.
Okay, I think I'm coming around.
The thing to remember about like Orlok's Honda is it's also dealing with the baggage of adapting that novel, which is more of a detective.
Well, and like that novel just has such a wackadoo plot.
Yeah, like Orlok's Honda is great because of Conrad Veidt. Yeah, what about everything else, you know?
I don't know. I'm looking at this section of the list going like, I feel like things are very messy here in the middle of the list.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like the list is a little messy. After 300 episodes, dude.
It's the compounded nature of like 300 episodes of like compromises where it's like, well, you think it's this good and I think it's this good. We'll meet somewhere in the middle. And then it means that the middle of the list is like, really? We thought this was better than that? Like, you know what I mean? Gosh. Okay. I think I would put this... I think I'm just going to agree with your spot. Because Ladrón de Cadáveres was the, like, Frankenstein wrestler movie, right?
Man, I don't fucking remember.
Let's see here. Let's look it up.
I looked up El Monstruo Resuscitado, which was very much like... almost like a Phantom of the Opera kind of thing.
Right.
La Bruja was like the witch in like the night court.
So crazy. Yes. Ladrón de Cadáveres was the movie where the mad scientist who's bringing people back to life is using dead wrestlers.
Yeah. So I think that Strage doesn't go above that. Like that's a pretty like fun premise.
Yeah.
With like a Mexican horror movie bringing two loves together.
Great tastes.
Two great tastes. Taste good together. I was also like, I'm not sure about with The Man Who Turned to Stone, where it's like that prison and the people who run it are like sacrificing to try to not turn to stone or whatever.
Yeah. And it really upset me.
Yeah. Because of what it had to say about institutions.
Yeah.
But Le Loup de Malvenir is like, here's the French take on the werewolf story. And this is like an Italian take on the Dracula story.
Sure.
So I do feel like, either it has to basically be above or below Le Loup.
I think it's definitely better than Le Loup de Malvenir, which I didn't really like.
Yeah.
It was kind of boring. Can we put it at 153 then?
Cool. Yeah, I like that.
Because I think everything above that, even if the quality of the movies themselves isn't as high as the quality of this movie, have more interesting ideas.
Yes.
So entering the list at the new number 153 is STRAGE DEI VAMPIRI from 1962, directed by Roberto Mauri.
If you would like to see this list, you can go to our website, screamscenepodcast.com. There you can find links to the episodes that we have mentioned today, as well as our appeals box. If you would like to contest this ranking, if you would like to contest the ranking of
Any of the other
Vampiro,
movies.
yeah. Were we out of our minds? Looking at the screenshots that I saw, I don't think so. I think it actually was pretty good. It mixed in like some film noir. Dude had like the big like executioner hood and like met her at the docks and was like, oh, what's going on? Anyways, if you would like us to reconsider that ranking, you can drop us a line through our Ask box on Tumblr. You can also email us at screamscenepodcast@gmail.com or talk to us over Blue Sky.
Scream Scene updates every other week on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Podcasts, wherever you want to find your podcasts. You can subscribe to the show using our RSS feed. If you'd like to help support the show, you can do that by leaving us a rating or a review on whichever podcasting app allows you to do so. That tends to like push the algorithm to show it to more people. We would really appreciate that. Or if you just want to tell people about the show, it's October, it's Halloween, it's spooky times. You know, if someone's talking to you about like, oh, I want to get into like classic horror movies, but I don't know where to start, point them at our show, you know, get them listening to the show. If you really enjoy our episodes and the content that we make, you can head on over to our Patreon at patreon.com/screamscenepodcast, where you can become a patron of the night for as little as $1 a month. Patrons at $5 and $10 levels get access to bonus content. We've got some cool bonus content coming to you for this October. Sarah is interviewing me about a special project I'm working on. So if you are a fan of the Lon Chaney Phantom of the Opera or our episode on it, head on over to our Patreon, sign up, and don't miss that special interview at patreon.com/screamscenepodcast.
One thing I forgot to mention about this movie that I'm just going to like slide in real quick about it. During the movie, we kept talking about how these actors in their makeup and everything looked like current day people.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Walter Brandy, who plays Wolfgang, he looks like off-brand Colin Firth. Mm-hmm. Dieter Epler looks like Taika Waititi, particularly from What We Do in the Shadows, but just with gray hair. And Louise, her actress, Graciela Granada, she looks like Amy Winehouse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, the vampire one specifically was wild because I turned to Sarah and I was like, does he look exactly like, and you said Taika Waititi. And I was like, that's exactly what I was thinking.
So Ben, what are we watching next week?
Next week, Sarah, we are back with Roger Corman and Edgar Allan Poe for a movie he tried to make without AIP, but AIP just caught up to him anyways. It's The Premature Burial, starring Ray Milland.
Okay, that will be the episode that comes out Halloween week.
Amazing. Well, at least there's a chance it'll be good because we've been enjoying these Roger Corman Poe movies.
Yeah, but particularly with Vincent Price, not Ray Milland.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see you then, creatures of the night.
Bye.
Bye.